Peace, peace, peace. Welcome, everyone, to another segment of Foundational Friday on Enlightenment and Transformation. Of course, speaking, I am Chief Yuya, and I am the Chief Instructor, Head Instructor of the Sadulu House Spiritual Center, and Chief Jegna of the ANU Spiritual Order. And I want to welcome all of you, especially you first-timers. Seems like every time I turn around, I'm speaking to someone who's telling me, or that they just got into my show recently. So I want to welcome all of you to the mix, and of course, thank you for being here. Yeah, let me give you all a moment to file in, and if any of you want to call in, this is a live show tonight. So if any of you want to call in, the number is 347-945-7680. I almost forgot it. 347-945-7680. Like I said last night, we did a live Underground Thursday, which was pretty cool. So I said that I was gonna try something a little different, try a couple of live shows. All right, so I'm gonna give you all an opportunity to catch up and to tune in, and yeah, we'll be right back. So come on.
This is an ancient conversation. Absorb this expression with your first eye vision, bringing forth the light of indigenous wisdom. Root knowledge to circumvent Western logic. We're the black womb that generates the esoteric. Modern day Imhotep constructing step pyramids to the mind's apex. Trained in the warrior arts of Kemet. Don't think about flexing with some thug activity. Annihilate your self-hate with Kupagani, Capoeira, and Djembe harmony. Sons of Sankofa here to bring quartz clarity. Ushering the wisdom of antiquity. That medicinal remedy served through golden seal poetry. Guiding through word sound, claiming our destiny. Removing the corrosion around the heart chakra. Feel the presence of our ancestors. Sankofa spreads her wings, spanning the hemispheres of the universe. Just remembering our roots helps to navigate us through the Kali Yuga course. The nigga curse got us celebrating ignorance. Nigga lives in the absence of consciousness. Self-knowledge heals the Urugu virus. Know thyself, African, reclaim your brilliance. Our creative genius is limitless. Sun's here to sanitize our community from mental pollution and moral debris, establishing the pillars of a spirit-centered identity. From male to boy, to man to divine. Walking in time with the ancestors' mind. Living the legacy of traditional rhythms. Vessel used to express indigenous wisdoms. Djembe drum the language of harmony. Reconnecting the severed pieces of a lost identity. Old Willie, a conqueror of the African psyche. Now operating as an I instead of we. Calling or set to assemble the scattered memory. Words sound uttered clearly through the voice of Tahuti. The Jali's here to preserve our story. Straight from the fertile ground of the river Hapi, we come bearing umps in this time of destruction. Ancient man in the present, direct from the Dogon civilization. Our origins straight out of Sirius B. Yo, I'm Sirius B, you're a star. Blinging like the Big Dipper, iced out like the 21st century lost nigga. From nigga to knowledge to action, sons of Sankofa identity surgeons. Casting out the poisonous toxins of self-ignorance. Recharging the pineal gland, igniting the African conscience. Preparing Andinkra soup with Necharu crackers. recipe for the colonial-minded self-haters, administering the meiotic enema, purging the dire nigger trauma, nourishing the lost child from Africa to his nature. Come ride the sturdy wings of Sankofa as we prepare for the sun's takeover.
All right. So yeah, I figure I just give everybody a break, because I notice a lot of times when I do my segments, people come in late. You know, the phone calls come in the last 5 minutes when I'm getting ready to go off the air, you know, or the chat things, you know, the comments and stuff. So I said, yeah, maybe I need to, because I, you know, when I do segments, I try to get right into it, get in it and get out, you know, like a cop spot. But I said maybe I'll do something a little different. You know, I'm always trying something different. That's what keeps it from getting boring. You know, that's what keeps it from getting boring. Because you've heard me say so many times that this is complex in terms of dissecting and repairing our condition, but the information itself is not that complex. The hardest part is the diagnosis. You know, that's why a lot of times, even a lot of us who, you know, deal with a certain level of like natural medicine, you know, we'll go to maybe a Western doctor because they have the machines, you know, we can get the analysis and the diagnosis, but then we use our own medicine to heal ourselves because we, you know, may connect with that in a better way, in a healthier way, you know. So, yeah, always trying something different. But this tonight's segment is brought to you by the letter K. No, tonight's segment is dealing with the idea of anti-nature. And, you know, last night on Thunderground Thursday, we dealt with the concept of, oh man, I forgot already. All right, it'll come back to me. You see how quick I forget? I always try to tell you guys. Everybody's trying to get me to recall shows. They're like, yeah, because you talked about this last year. I don't remember that. Now you see, you just saw it live. You see, this is a live show. You just saw it live. See, when I do the pre-records, I would have stopped. I would have paused just now, went and looked up last night's show, but now it's live and I'm busted. I don't even remember what last night's show was about. I mean, I remember what it was about. I don't remember the title. Let me see. Tonight is anti-nature. Last night was restoration. There we go. Restoration. The reason I know is because the Thursday and Friday shows always maintain a certain theme. So restoring yourself back to your prior build or your original intended build, your original intended purpose, is when we're dealing with the idea of restoring or restoration, often confused with rebirth. But, you know, rebirthing is sometimes a process one has to go through in order to restore, you know. But and then tonight we're dealing with the concept of anti-nature, which is basically going against that original nature, going against that original intent and that original bill. But really, last night's segment was the prelude for tonight's segment. You know, really the show that I wanted to do was anti-nature. So I was like, okay, now how do I, what would I set up for anti-nature? And then that's when restoration came, you know. But yeah, anti-nature is such a big topic, you know, especially for those of us who are dealing with indigenous deep thought and indigenous wisdom, and we're trying to reclaim some sense of our natural stance and some sense of our natural voicing. And sometimes we've traveled so far away from self that we're really just not interested in finding our way back home, because we know it would be too much of a lifestyle revolutionary effort. And some people are not interested in those revolutionary efforts because it's going to cause you to have to cross a bridge of no return. You can't be a revolutionary if you've not crossed the sacred bridges of no return. That's why even when you're initiated, you know, you go through a process that you can't reverse. You can't reverse it. Even if you say, I'm not interested, you can't reverse your initiation because you've gone through a sacred grove. You've rebirthed yourself. You know, and that's why, and I've spoken about this in other shows, in some systems, and I'm one of those people. Sometimes people come to me for initiation. They want to be my student. I turn them away for a little while. I'll tell them, come back in 6 months, come back in 1 year. And that's not an original idea that I came up with, but through my studies, I learned about certain groups on the continent that would do that. When people would come to their village gates for learning, they'd say, okay, we'll teach you, but you have to go away for a year and say goodbye to your old world. Because they knew once you go through this understanding, once you go through this wisdom, the world will be new to you. So we're going to give you 12 months to go say goodbye. I was talking to a family member today, and they were talking about some of the people that they had to sacrifice out of their life in order to continue on this path of evolution, or more so this path of getting back to their natural selves. And certain people, they've come to a place where they realize, okay, they can't come with me. They can't be here. When I go up this next stair step, or I climb this next rung of the ladder, the only people who can be up here are people who earned their way up here, people who deserve to be up here. I can't carry everyone everywhere. And at certain levels, you can carry people. At certain levels, you absolutely can carry them. But when you get to a certain space and you start to leave the weight of the body, and you're using a different set of muscles, you say, well, man, before I was using my arms to carry you, but now I'd have to figure out how to use telekinesis in order to raise you up to the higher astral planes. So if you're not doing this with me, man, if you're still a real dense and heavy, slow moving person, you can't come with me to this next space that I'm trying to take you to. And that's the reality that a lot of us have to face when we come into a space where we're saying, you know what? I really want to live this consciousness, man. And you know what? I'm not afraid of what's going to happen. Because some of us are afraid that once we cross that bridge, we're like, what am I going to be like, though? And am I just going to be walking around smelling incense all day? Am I going to be a hippie? Am I going to care about having wood grain in my car anymore? Maybe I don't want to be that guy who doesn't care about that. Maybe I don't want to be the guy who doesn't like a nice pair of gaiters. I don't want to be that person. So, we have trouble crossing certain bridges. And sometimes you'll find out when you get across to the other side of the bridge, it's a lot more celebratory and the people are a lot more cooler than you ever could have imagined. You see, sometimes you come into certain spaces like elays and schools, and you posture yourself with so much false reverence. You're not really like that. Oh, Baba and Iya so-and-so and Mama did it. You're not really like that. And that's not really what you're feeling. And then when you get to know the people, you realize, oh, man, they're cool like me. They're over here listening to certain music that I find cool, or doing certain things that I enjoy to do, too. They're not just walking around all day like monks and nuns, but you never know that until you cross that bridge of no return. I spoke about that yesterday when I was using the mountain as an example. And I said, yeah, it's different perspectives. When the person was talking about mixing systems, I think that was Anwar. And I was like, yo, mixing systems is like looking at two sides of a mountain. One side is sunny, one side is shady, but if you take the time to climb the mountain and now become known as the mountain climber, that means you got to leave your old identity as maybe the sheep herder. But you come to become the mountain climber, you're going to see a totally different perspective, because you're going to get to the tip of the mountain and realize, hey, one side is cool, one side is sunny. So it's not even what I thought it was. It's not even what I thought it was. I thought it was just going to be cold and shady up here. Or I thought it was just going to be hot and sunny up here. And there's a mixture, and that mixture created a whole new formula that I never could have imagined. So yeah, that was what we were dealing with in yesterday's segment. That whole anti-nature vibe. The whole restoration vibe, restoring ourselves back to the original Bill. And anti-nature is a really big, for me, it's a really big subject, because a lot of what I teach, and a lot of what I do is sometimes there's certain encumbrances, and those encumbrances come in the form of people who are trying to infuse programmed anti-natural responses to something that is very natural. That's why I always tell you guys that whether you're dealing with Ifa, any indigenous system, they're nature-based. I've heard people say, well, these are woman-based systems, or these are man-based. No, they're not. They're not woman-based. They're not man-based. They're nature-based. They follow the cosmology. of different groups, their understandings of how the heavens move, their understandings of evolutionary forces that exist within nature, and anything outside of that, typically your big three religions are going to be dealing with concepts and thoughts that are anti-nature, and those religious ideologies, as I've shared with you all before, are not necessarily the God that you think you're praying to, but it's the culture that you become subservient to. And you'll find that the culture is anti-nature. Like I got to wear alligators on my feet. I got to wear ostrich on my feet. I got to wear seal on my feet. I got to have a fox around my neck. And I got to have a tortured and mutilated cow as a sofa. Now, listen, I'm not knocking leather and fur, and because I actually like all of those things. I don't have a problem wearing an animal around me, but I wanted to be an animal that I killed and skinned. That's a different type of pride I have, and not something that I killed long range, with a rifle up in a tree somewhere. So, the feeling is a little different, but everybody has their own natural disposition. And because we've been trained for so many years to fight our nature, to reject our nature, to ignore our nature, when we come into our spiritual awareness, a lot of times we come in with the same type of mindset that I have to subdue, fight, and oppress everything that is natural about me. You see, and take on some false persona that really, in a spiritual sense, holds no value. It holds no value whatsoever. We just don't realize it. You see, so to kind of elucidate, what I'm saying here, when we're speaking about nature or netir or to nurture, right? When we're speaking about those values of nature, what we're speaking about is assistance. I know a lot of times, especially those of us who have a certain affinity to spirituality, we often have a certain affinity and desire towards nature. We marvel at it. And as I've said in my book, I think I said it in my book, Grasping the Root of Divine Power, that nature is pretty much the only force on the planet that can force silence. It can force silence and stillness out of anyone. I don't care how wild you are. In certain environments, you just can't be wild. It stills your spirit. If you're looking at a volcano, or you're looking at the ocean, or you're just looking at a mountain, or you might just be looking at some ants climb up the side of a tree. Nature, that's its gift. It provides you with stillness. Especially for those of us who may have trouble meditating. We have trouble silencing some of the chatter. Nature will do it for you. You don't even have to work that hard. Just start walking. Start walking in nature. You're gonna find within 15 minutes, think your whole vibration has changed up a little bit. So nature has its own gifts, and sometimes we have an over appreciation for those gifts. And what I mean by that is this: a lot of times we don't realize that our nature-based systems do not mean that we are subservient to nature. In fact, it's the other way around. But some of us are so immature in our understanding that we're not ready for that responsibility, because we think that being stewards and guardians over the natural environment means that we have to subdue it and dominate it, and that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous, because nature is so powerful. I mean, the earth would just swat you off its surface like a fly. You really think you're doing something to the earth? And we talk about the global warming stuff. That's just dealing with IA. That's just dealing with the crust. That's all you can really play with. That's the earth is much more vast than that. You're not really doing anything like you think you are. Your little buildings that you put up, that you think are so amazing, nature will bring those things down in less than 20 minutes. Gone. Centuries of work gone. You see, but the understanding here is that when we're dealing with nature, and I wanted to remind you all, it's a live show. 347-945-7680. 347-945-7680. Feel free to call in if you feel like it. If you don't, that's cool too. When I do the Thursdays and Friday shows, they usually pre-record. So I don't expect, when I do a last minute live show, I don't really expect callers, but sometimes I get a lot, So we go with the flow. We go with the natural spirit of things. But our relationship with nature really is that of a good steward. It's really that of individuals and forces who have to help guide the evolutionary process, not just sit back and marvel at it. You'll find a lot of that also in our communities of learners and growers. We have this tendency to sit back and watch more than we do participate, help, guide, nurture, enhance. Sometimes we'll see young people who we marvel at. We say, wow, maybe they do poetry, or they're inventors, or they have a certain talent, and we'll send their images all over Facebook and their videos and Twitter them up, and wow, look at everything they're doing. And then if they start to slip or they start to fall, everyone just gets quiet and just watches. That's it. They just watch. They watch them fall. They had nothing to do with their success. They won't have anything to do with their failure. They just watch. We love DMX. Look at him. We watch it. We're watching him disintegrate, like we watched Whitney Houston, and like we watched their daughter disintegrate. We just watch. So, a lot of times we take that same approach as it pertains to nature. We watch without realizing that nature is praying to us. We spend a lot of time praying to herbs, praying to the sun, praying to the moon, and looking for answers without realizing that these elements are saying, I sprang out of you. And the way you behave or the way you develop is going to determine my movements. So if I'm acting confused and you're in the Northeast and it's 65 degrees in January, it's because you're confused. And because you're confused, I'm confused. You see? So a lot of times our relationship with nature is off. We don't understand how we have to develop and we have to grow, and we have to put ourselves in the mind where we're restoring ourselves to our natural bill in order to help nature at the level that we're supposed to. Now let's deal with anti-nature, because that's what we're talking about tonight, right? So I just wanted to really just lightly touch on maybe our relationship with nature a little bit, and before we get to the anti-nature part. So if we look at what nature symbolizes, right, or what nature means and is for us, it's a cradle. It's a cradle for our development. It's the environment in which we transform. Our natural environment is the environment in which we transform, and not necessarily the environment in which we mutate. A mutation is usually a product of us not being in our natural environment. So we mutate to something else. But our natural evolutionary transformation takes place inside of a space where we're able to reclaim. Remember when I said earlier, there was another show I did on evolution, that there can be no evolution without first revolution. Okay, first you have to revolve back. You have to bind, reverse yourself back. See, that's what religion is supposed to do. Relegare, to bind back. Bind you back to what, though? See, that's where they play with you. See, that's an example of anti-nature. Nature gives you revolution, man gives you religion. So when you're supposed to go back to your source to reclaim your original self, and reclaiming your original self is really just reclaiming your original intent. That's why when we learn in the Yoruba system that when we're gestating in a sacred grove, that it is Eshu who makes us forget our purpose. So then when we're born, we have to have an Ita done. And then to the child, you feel, hey, this is what you're supposed to do. This is what this child is supposed to do. Or in Benin, you get your due. And that's given to your mother, and the mother is informed, hey, these are the taboos for this child. This is what this child is supposed to do. That's your Joto reading, because we forgot. And part of our process of remembering is an empowering process. You see? So nature has given us revolution and evolution. And most importantly, that process becomes empowered by our will, our capability, or our capacity for restoration. I'm gonna take a call real quick, and I'm gonna keep on building on this. But you know, we're gonna break it up a little bit with little calls here and there. 719 area code. You're on Foundational Friday.
Peace, Chief.
Peace, brother.
Yes, indeed. I appreciate it, bro.
For sure.
Yes, King. I had got privy to your information probably about a couple of days ago. I was Googling the metaphysics of money, and I embarked on that show, or got some jewels from that show, you know, pertaining to the flow.
Beautiful.
How you kind of synced it with the Hermetic laws. That was pretty live. Pardon me, my name is Marvis from Colorado Springs, Colorado.
All right, wonderful.
And, indeed, man. I'm hearing you build, and I was thinking about the Black Root Science publication that I know about, or I got privy to probably about 5 years ago via Cyber World. It was a guy from the Botswana tribe, and he mentioned that we're not subject to nature, but we are the forces of nature because we are the original gods. So my question was, man, like, do you find that true? Like, since we are the come from the original, since we are the original gods, is it true that we are the forces of nature?
You know what? I'd have to break that up a little bit, because I wouldn't necessarily, when you say we are the original gods, it's kind of a tricky statement, in my opinion, because then we have to define what a god is. Because if a god is a person of influence, right? So then we have to say, we're saying that we're the original people that someone was greatly influenced by. Now that's totally believable, because when you read the Bible, for instance, it's all about Africans. It's just, if you follow these set of principles and norms, you can be an African. It's like an infomercial. You know, just buy this Bible for $19.99 and you can have the power and the divinity of an African. That's the secret of it, you know, as well as the Torah, as well as the Quran. You know, these are steps to become an African. So if we are saying that now, we being those Africans are those original, if we're that original aspiration of another group of people to be us, then I can get with that a little bit, you know, if that's the statement.
All right.
Now, us in our form today, right now, are we those original gods? I would say no. I would say no. That's what the restoration process is about, man. It's not enough just to wake up one day, look at your knuckles and say, man, I got some dark, ashy knuckles. I'm black. I must be a black person. So that means all this pyramid stuff, that's me, because I got ashy knuckles. You know, it takes a little bit more than that, because the truth is, we're not black. Black is a state of mind. It's a consciousness. So black is something that you earn. You know, you just don't wake up one day. That's like waking up one day and putting on a headband and going out to the block like, yeah, I'm thugging it. No, you're going to get exposed.
Yeah.
You need to do a little bit more than that. So, you know, that's why it's a little tricky for me in that sense when we jump into those type of claims. And I'm not disputing that individual's information, just so you know. I'm just saying where my heart is at with it. Now, us being people who persuaded nature, created nature in a certain form in order to serve our purposes. Yeah, I would definitely say our ancestors did that. Absolutely. You know, should we be stewards over nature today? Absolutely. You know, absolutely. Should we be worshiping nature? No, I don't feel we should, because nature is just as imperfect as we are. You know, because the same way you and I, like right now, we're talking in English. You know, and you can't even come up. I'm listening to you. You can't even come up with good English words to agree with me. You see how corrupted we are? As I'm talking right now, you're going, huh. You see? So it's like we're so far from our original selves. Even your spirit is like, man, I don't even have a word to use for you to let this brother know that you're agreeing with him. So just give him a note. Just sing and hum. You You see what I'm saying? So that's like a form of our corruption. So I can't really ride like that with you, you know, speaking to you in English, and then at the same time and say, but I'm the original God. I don't know. I think that's what we're working towards, but I don't think, maybe some people have it right now. I don't have it right now, you know. Yeah, so that's kind of my take on that, but I don't agree with that sentiment. I think that sentiment, put in proper perspective, is a correct sentiment, but I say take out the word gods and just say the originals. Then I can ride with it a little better.
Indeed, Chief, man. I appreciate the honesty, though.
For sure, my brother. I appreciate the call. All right, enjoy yourself, brother. Take care this evening. All right, one.
All right. Peace.
Cool. Peace. I like questions like that. That was a good question, you know, because sometimes through our questions, you know, a lot of times, and this, you know, that's a good, for, you know, brother still listening, but, you know, for the brother who just called, I know you're listening, you could always use that too. A lot of times when people are trying to challenge your information, you find that most people who try to challenge you, they're gonna say things in their questioning that's gonna let you know that they shouldn't even be challenging you. Like sometimes people will say to me, because of what I do you believe in God? Do you believe in God at least? You know, I only have to answer the question, because once you use the word believe in God, I know we're not even vibrating on the same frequency. Let's deal with that first. I don't believe in anything. Why would I believe in something? I'm a grown man. I believe in things when I didn't know what I was getting for Kwanzaa. Yeah, I man, I hope I get this such and such. I want a bike. I think my pop's gonna get me a bike, but I don't know, because I got in trouble. He caught me with that girl in the garage. So I hope, but he might not give me a bike. He might mess around and give me a book again this year. You know, he might do me dirty. Give me another book. You know, so that's where the belief would come in. As an adult, either I know or I don't know, man. I'm cool with that. I don't have to believe anything. I don't have to hope for anything. I don't have to believe anything. I didn't have my heart broke already. I'm fine with getting it broke again. So I don't have to believe and hope for stuff. You know, I can just know, or I don't. You gonna get the job? I don't know. I don't have to say I hope so. I believe so. I don't know. And if I get my heart broke, I get my heart broke. I didn't get the job, or whatever it is, you know? So yeah, man, sometimes in the questions, it becomes difficult because our perceptual framework that we're using to even formulate our questions takes us out of the realm of our natural sensibilities. So my natural sensibilities don't require me to call myself a God to understand myself. My natural sensibilities help me to understand my relationship that I have with the cosmos, my relationship that I have with the planet. Now, if people see me and they say, you're a God, then so be it. People have called me a God before. That's fine. But that means I'm your God. That doesn't mean that I consider myself to be God. You see, because a God, again, you know, for me to call me your God, then I have to say that I have total influence and persuasion over you. I'm not looking to re-enslave anyone or to enslave anyone. So that's not really, I don't even want to be the God of my children, because, you know, the things that I teach my children at the age that they're being taught, I may not have gotten that. So they're going to be way further than where I am at. So I don't want to cap them off with the ceiling of my own wisdom. So nah, man, I don't want to be your God. I'm your father. Done. Not your God. You see? You don't really need one. We got God addictions. Now, someone will call you their God, but that's just because that's how we come into the planet. The Assaan-ANU stock is powerful, you know. So when we appear on the planet, people write books about us, and they call it scripture. You know, I've always taught my children that, you know, because sometimes you might have certain relatives try to sneak the children off the church and stuff. I always tell them, listen, you end up in a situation when you got your great grandmother, your auntie, or whatever praying over you, talking about this. Just understand that when they're praying to God, they're talking to you and don't even know it. But just be quiet. It's a secret. Don't tell them that you're the one who they're talking to, or you're the one that they're singing songs about. It's a secret. You see, the Assaan-ANUs, we're the God. We're the people from heaven. We don't need gods. So yeah, you know, so a lot of times in the questions, man, we move away from our natural understandings and our natural framework, and that's a form of being anti-nature. You know, even my natural disposition doesn't really require me to have that type of reaction to oppression. You know, sometimes our reaction to oppression is extreme. So we go so far on the other way. Somebody tells us that we're no good with this and that. We say, I'm God. Who? But that's not my term. So I don't even want to put myself in your frame. That's like me saying, I'm Zeus. I'm Apollo. You know, I'm Hercules. I'm Medusa. I'm Oedipus. You know, no, that's your stuff. You know what I mean? I don't want to even go on your frame. It's kind of like when you hear rappers use these Italian mafia names for rap names. What's wrong with you? Why are you putting yourself in somebody else's frame? But anyway, we're going to take another call before we go to more on this subject of anti-nature. From the 903 area code, 903, you're on Foundational Friday.
Hello. Hi, Chief Yuya. I had called yesterday. This is China again.
Hey, China. What's happening?
And I'm actually glad that you're talking about nature today, because my question that I called is kind of regarding that. I was doing a meditation against a tree, and I had basically started talking to my ancestors, and I called upon like the people of the wind and of the trees and stuff, and I had my eyes closed, and I was like picturing my roots going down into the earth like the tree does, and I heard footsteps walking up, and I could have sworn I thought it was my sister, because she was supposed to be coming over to come see me, but when I opened my eyes, it was a squirrel there, like right next to me. And I'm not really used to seeing squirrels that close because they're kind of twitchy, like they're nervous and stuff. So
yeah.
I was wondering, what does squirrel mean, or what is your perspective on the squirrel? Because I had read up on it, but I was wondering if you could shed some light that I hadn't seen yet on the squirrel.
Okay, yeah, sure. Good question. Squirrels represent, you know, really looking at not just our environment, but looking at our storehouse of resources. Because squirrels represent the things that we've acquired and we've accumulated in life, and that we bring to us and that we already have. Because, you know, you look at a squirrel, they're always stacking dough, always stacking, you know, preparing for that winter season. But what it is that they're resource hogs. You know, if you throw a piece of bread out for a squirrel or something, they're not going to eat all of it right there. They may take a little nibble to see if it's okay. Then they're going to take the rest of it. They're going to put it up in a tree somewhere, because they're always stacking resources. So a lot of times when that squirrel vibration comes to you, what it's trying to tell you is that, hey, look around and see what you have already. See what you're already working with, and start doing something with that, because you already got some resources at your disposal. Like you said, you had a profound experience. You went to the tree. You felt your roots growing into the earth. You know, there's people who would pay $1,500 for a weekend retreat to have that type of experience. And you had it in a park, just leaning on a tree. See that? So that's part of what you take resource and say, wow, I got something. I'm working with something here. I got something here now. You know, I'm not coming totally empty-handed. So that's what that vibration represents.
So funny, I'm kind of, I guess, looking around. Like, I feel like I haven't done much because I guess I focus on my goals and stuff, and I keep comparing myself, I guess, to where I was like a year ago, and it doesn't feel like much progress. So I guess the squirrel's trying to tell me to stop tripping. Yep,
exactly. Have fun. Just you stacking it up, and when it comes time to pull that stuff out of your storehouse, you have it. You know, because when the squirrel gets hungry, if they can't hunt, you're like, all right, I'm not going to really sweat that because I have my food stacked up. So just like if somebody, where you were last year, if somebody came to you this year and was like, China, I need some help, I don't know what to do, girl, you probably could run down at least 10 things that you've done or that you do that could help that person. And that's your resources. Right. And it stacks like that. So yeah, just, you know, respect your journey. You know, respect your journey and respect the power of your own subconscious. And what that means is your subconscious is going to like soak in things, experiences that you like. This whole squirrel thing, you only told me a little bit of it, but there's a whole lot that your subconscious remembers about that day. And when it's necessary and someone asks you a question later, you'll be able to pull it up. You see, so you got a lot that you're acquiring. You got a lot. All right.
All right, because I told you, I don't know why. I feel like, why does it feel like I'm just sitting in one spot? But I guess I should stop thinking like that.
Yep. Yeah, you're never sitting in one spot. You're always moving. You're always vibrating. All right.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, China. Thanks for the call. Take care.
All right.
All right.
You too. Bye.
Bye. See the profound experience she had just interacting with nature. She's calling, and she said, I called the wind people. You know, I'm calling different people of the planet because she's recognizing these kingdoms. And you'll find that when you call them, they always show up. That should tell you something. Whenever you call them, they show up in some shape, form, or fashion. But you still don't want to hear that you're the quote unquote God of the planet. You still don't want to, you're still too afraid to hear something like that. When somebody like me says that, it terrifies you. But then why is it that every time you conjure a spirit, it shows up? Why doesn't it just ignore you? Why doesn't the wind just ignore you? Why doesn't the water ignore you? Why didn't the tree ignore her? You see? See, sometimes we don't respect our relationship that we have with the natural environment because through our socialization, especially through our Western programming, we've been taught to hate nature. We've been taught to hate all of nature's processes. And that's why we hate process. We love microwave stuff. We love overnight relationships. We love to go online and meet our next husband or our next wife, and our best friends are from Facebook. And, you know, I've seen people get into relationships on Facebook, never even meet, but say, this is like, you know, this is my lady or this is my man. And I've seen them break up on Facebook. Ain't never met. Haven't held hands, haven't sat and watched TV together, nothing. Everything was on Facebook. You know, got together and broke up through the same medium. So you talk about an anti-natural position. And the thing is that, you know, and I see the callers on the air. I'm gonna get to you guys. But, you know, one of the points I want to make, a lot of times in our spiritual work, our connections with nature are outside of our everyday movements and everyday activities. And when that's the case, you're doing the wrong. If you want to be a spiritual worker, you're doing the wrong stuff. For instance, if I need to connect with a water vibration or air vibration or earth vibration or fire vibration, and I have to go through a whole big ritual to do it, that means my life is a little screwy. I'm living the wrong life, because my everyday natural movements should be connecting me with these vibrations every single day, even outside of ritual. So when I perform those movements, I can make it a ritual right then and there. So like most of us drink water every day, most of us, right? So every time you're connecting with that water, you have an opportunity to give honor to Olokun, or to the spirit of Mami Water, or to the spirit of water. I give honor to the spirit of water. Gulp, 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 gulp. I'm drinking, because that's a very natural thing for you. So now let's look at other elements in your natural spiritual or your everyday life. Do you naturally interact with the earth element? Most of us know. I know people who wear shoes in the house, which is disgusting. But, you know, especially because you live in a place like New York, it's nasty. You know, you wear shoes in your house and you get out of your shoes into your slippers. The only time you're barefoot is in the shower, maybe, because a lot of you wear shower shoes. Then you leave the house and you're walking on pavement all day, or you're sitting in a car and then you get off on pavement. So you're never actually interacting with any kind of soil at all, ever. You see? So now when I say, oh, do this ritual and bury this fish in the ground and cover it with a cloth and you're going to say, oh man, I got to find a place where I can go do that. Can I do it in the woods? Can I go to the park? You see, but that should be a part of your natural movements. If I say I want you to do this fire ritual, every single day you should be connecting with one of the natural elements. So you're ritualizing yourself and connecting and befriending those elements on a daily basis. It shouldn't be something that you're overshooting to go do. See, that's an anti-nature or an anti-natural lifestyle, because you always have to step outside of yourself and step outside of your everyday movements in order to connect with the natural element, in order to do some type of ritual with an energy that you expect now to have an affinity and a rapport with you. But of course it has no rapport with you, because you don't, like anyone else or anything else, if you're not consistently shoring up the relationship through etiquette and protocol, it doesn't know who the heck you are. So now you have to bring 5 million watermelons and maple syrup and flowers to the river just to get something done, because it's saying, I don't know who you are. You don't interact with me in your everyday life. You haven't incorporated me into your movements. You haven't incorporated me into your everyday life. So we don't know each other. You see? All right, I'm going to take a call real quick. Well, I'm going to come back to this. Don't worry. 303 area code. 303 area code. You're on Foundational Friday.
Peace to the chief.
Peace, brother, to the brother.
How are you feeling today?
I'm all right. I'm doing all right this evening. How about you?
Anytime I get to listen to you, brother, my day is wonderfully well. So,
man,
everything is everything.
All right, well, my life purpose has been fulfilled then, man. I done did something finally. Finally.
You kind of was touching on it earlier, and maybe you said this is when you start going back and then you, like, if you see some people kind of like Whitney, do you stand there and you kind of watch, or do you kind of jump in? It's kind of where my question is coming from, is because sometimes when you try to jump in, and not saying that I don't know much, nothing, but the little bit that I do know, when you try to step in, like, hey man, you're kind of doing this wrong, and it's almost like they start attacking you. And, oh, you didn't say Jesus, or you don't believe in God, kind of what you were saying. And it's almost like an intervention for you, that they're trying to save you from yourself. How do you find that balance of, do you stand there and do you just watch them because they're going to come at you, or do you step in and try to help because you see that you're kind of being herded to the slaughterhouse?
Right. Well, you asked this question before on Sunday, first of all. So let me just out you real quick before I answer it. All right. Because I am a man of memory.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, so I just want you to know, I do remember that you actually already asked this question, right. But obviously,
name at the
okay, yeah, I give you that. My short term is shot, but you give me a couple of days, give me about 2-3 days, man, I'm like an elephant. But obviously, my answer was no good. Obviously, you was like, oh, thanks, G. That must have been one of the shows when we started putting the mute on, so you probably were on mute and like, what is he talking about? So you figure I'll get them later. All right, no problem. So it's all good. So here's the deal though, brother. Observation, man, is key. You got to kind of observe your subject like any good teacher, and a lot of times, man, when you're trying to help your folk and the information that you're bringing is out of their current circumference of knowledge, you have to make a split decision real quick, man. And really, it's like you don't preach to a starving dog. You give the dog the food because it'll bite you. You give the dog the food first, and then you preach to it. So, like, a lot of times, especially those of us, we have a responsibility, just like any high deity has a responsibility. When spirits communicate with you, they have to go through Eshu or Elegba. Why is that? Because we're too dumb to understand what they really want to say to us. We're not ready for it. So they get the trickster to give us the information in a way that we can understand it. So it's the same thing a lot of times when you're dealing with humans, man. When you're speaking to them, you have to make a decision. Okay, do I want to convert you in this moment, which is probably not going to work? Or do I just want to give you some good sound advice? And try to present it in a way where it doesn't seem spooky. There's a lot of times I'm working with people, and a lot of times when I'm doing readings for people, their relatives come up, like their mother may come up or their father may come up, and I see them and I say, oh, you know what? Tell your mother such and such, such and such. And they'll be like, oh, my mother's a Christian fanatic or something. So I'll say, well, listen, lie to them. Tell them that you had a dream. Don't tell them you heard it from me. Tell them that you had a dream or you had a feeling that their blood pressure is high or something like that, and they should go get that checked out. Say an angel told you, do it like that. So that's when we learn to be wise instead of righteous. You gotta learn to kind of be like a serpent, to be a little slick, to be a little wise in order to get the medicine to the people. But you already know, you've observed the person that you want to go help. You already know what they're going to do. You know what I mean? So there's no point in saying, you know, well, that's why they're messed up or this or that. You already know. You open your mouth and you start talking some of that deep stuff. That's it. Like I remember one time I was talking to a sister. She's a 7-day Adventist, and we were doing. I think we were doing a training together. And I said, yeah, I need to go home. Something was happening. I said, I need to go home and talk to my Baba. And she said, oh, see, that's what I'm talking about. Like she flipped out. She's like, that's the stuff that I'm talking about. You know, that like basically that satanic stuff. So, because she was saying, well, I'm going to go home and talk to God or something. I say, I'm going to go talk to Baba too. And I was saying like Father God, but I was using the word Baba instead of Father. And she flipped out. And I had to explain it to her. I said, okay, Baba means father. But even after I explained it, she was still sitting there shaking her head. You know, so some people are just really foolish like that, man. And you got to learn there's a responsibility to your wisdom, man. And a lot of times when you're around, first of all, you shouldn't be around certain type of people who are just low vibrational all the time, because you're ruining your own self like that. But if you have to be in certain instances, man, and you need to help them, just give them the basic wisdom. The same way when a Legba and Eshu speaks to us, they give us basic stuff. We do a reading. Should I get the job? Yes. See, we get real simple answers like that. Yes. No. Why? Because we're not really smart enough to really accept what really is being said. So they know how to step it down for the human brain. So now you got to step it down even lower for the bestial brain, the programmed fanatic. You got to step it down even lower. That's how you do that. And if you find that stepping it down to a certain level starts to affect your energy, and you start to say, man, I'm drained from talking to these people, then just leave them by the wayside. Leave them by the wayside. Because actually, Sister Kim played a sample of a show that I did speaking about that. If you don't leave them by the wayside, man, you're going to have to sacrifice yourself like the Christ did. Because you're going to have to kill yourself to change the world. And I mean, if the world's worth it to you, sure, go ahead. It ain't worth it to me. You know, I like other stuff. I like other stuff too much, you know, so I'm not killing myself to save any. I'll shout from the curb, get out the way, but that's about all you getting from me, you know. So you're gonna have to sacrifice yourself if you allow your energy, because sometimes you'll negate so much of your own energy to help someone that you might take a year now just to get that back. Now you're completely off your path, and you really can't help like you really need to help. The greatest help that you can be, and I think I said this in the intro, Chief Speaks, the greatest thing you could do is be your natural spiritual self. Once you're your natural spiritual self, you're functioning in your proper character. Once you're functioning in your proper character, then you have access to your real power. And then you don't have to say anything
even
to the
if
person.
One's natural
I'm listening, brother.
is to help.
Well, your natural inkling may be to help, but you got to determine. I'm talking about your natural character. We do a lot of things by second nature, but that's just because of our external influences. And you got to realize your natural inkling to help should really bring you to a place where you ask the question, how can I help best? And if you find that going around fixing everybody's tire, you know, is not the best thing that you could possibly do, but maybe the best thing that you could do is to be you at your fullest capacity. That's what's best. Then that's what you do. And that's going to mean that you're going to have to look at some sad eyes for a little while. They say, oh man, you don't come around and coach the boys anymore at the boys club. And you don't, and then, you know, you used to come to my grandma's house and cut her grass. You don't do that no more, man. What happened? You know, you're going to have to deal with some of that, but that's that revolutionary activity where you harden your heart. And you say, I later for that, man. I ain't got time for that right now. I'm doing something. You'll thank me later. I'm doing something more important. You'll thank me later. And that means I got to sacrifice what's in front of me right here, right now, that really ain't that important that somebody else could come do. I got to sacrifice that in order to fulfill the greater mission that's going to feed us much, much later down the line. You know, as us, you know, as melanin dominant people, man, we got to start thinking more generations ahead. You know, it's too much short-term activity and scheming and hustling. But if you look further down the line, if you say, well, how is this going to really improve our condition 20 years from now, what I'm doing right now? And can I be doing something today, right now, that would improve our condition 20 years from now? That's the thing you go do. That's why you look on a chess set, you got different members, man. Let the pawns do the short-term stuff. The king is supposed to be strategizing for long-term moves. You look at the queen, she can move all the way across the board. You see, long-term moves, man. Let the pawns mow the grass and go down there and volunteer at the Masonic Lodge, you know, to mentor little boys. That's the short-term stuff. What's the longer-term stuff that you have the talent and capacity for? That's what you invest yourself in. All right, brother?
Got it.
Was that any good, man? Or you going to call me back Sunday and ask the same question?
You a smart brother, man. I don't know how you did it.
Yeah, right. We'll see you Sunday. You come back. Don't try to ask the question with all the words backwards. Like I ain't gonna figure it out. So yeah, I know that's what you're gonna do, man. I know you're gonna say, you know what? I'm gonna do this ritual. I'm gonna ask Chief the same thing 5 times, and then I'm gonna take those answers and average them together and see if it makes sense. I know what you're doing, man. You know, I know what you're doing.
I swear I didn't ask that.
I know you did. I'll find the show. Matter of fact, that might be the new intro for the Chief Speak show. That's gonna be your double question.
Oh man.
All right, brother.
You have a wonderful rest of the evening, brother.
You too, my good brother. Enjoy yourself. Take care, brother. Peace.
All right, peace.
All right. Brother put me through reruns. He put me through the rerun. Groundhog's Day. All right, so we got one more call. Maybe I can squeeze in before we close on out. Skype call. You're on Chief Speaks. Foundational Friday.
Hi, greetings, Chief.
Hi, greetings. How you doing? Everything's okay.
Yeah,
let's just bring the energy down.
Pardon?
Let's just bring the energy way down. Yeah. How are you doing?
Well,
good night. Good night. Good evening.
Oh boy. Okay. Whenever I'm on air, I actually am very nervous, and I try to spit out usually what I have to say.
What you nervous for?
Well, as you say, the world is hearing me, right?
Yeah.
And I'm letting go of my ego at this very moment because the question that I'm going to pose might sound silly to many, but I just feel like I need an answer kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's regarding like the topic, which is nature. And you've pointed out that we need to, you know, kind of pay tribute or homage to the elements. But what about like the animals, like even like the mere little spider or ant, or you know what I mean? They're part of nature as well,
right?
And I am a bit of a kind of like, I wouldn't say terrified, but I'd rather not be in a room with a spider, kind of thing.
You're always in a room with a spider.
Or a bug of some sort.
You're always in a room with a spider.
So, pardon?
You're always in a room with a spider.
I know, but I'd rather not see it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Play like
90 seconds.
And hold on, let me just pause you for a second, Georgia. I mean, I didn't mean to say your name out loud, but I knew it was you. Hold on a second. Let me just pause you. Okay. Everyone who's called in or listening, we're getting ready to go on the archives in like a minute and a half. So if you are listening from the internet and you want to continue on, just call in 347-945-7680. If not, you can just listen to it later from the archives. Those of you listening from YouTube, you're good to go, because YouTube
60 seconds
is better than Block Talk. All right, let's hear about this Anansi issue.
Okay. So I remember listening to Muda Baruka. I don't know if you're aware of him. I'm sure you are.
Come on,
maybe a year or so.
Of course. I don't have any shoes on. I'm barefoot right now because of him. He's my inspiration for walking around barefoot. Come on now.
And that's the other thing. I have this thing where I will not walk bare feet on the ground outside because I know there's like little creepy crawly. I know I have to get over that. I understand it completely. But back to Muta, he was basically expressing his awe. Like sometimes he gets in this motion or this moment where he just
10
wants to
seconds.
even the earthworm. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And how he has such respect and reverence to these, to life. And I want to have that respect to life. But I find that my feelings towards whatever the ant or not ant, but the spider or, even a fly, surpasses what I think, the respect that I should have for the life. And I've been kind of pondering that, like, as I'm killing a spider. It sounds horrible.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pondering, oh gosh, I'm almost like asking for forgiveness, which, is like a Christian mentality kind of thing, I think. But
you are a
anyway,
Christian.
I'll leave it there.
You're a Christian.
Pardon?
You're a Christian.
I am not a Christian.
Since when?
But
when did you renounce your Christian principles and vows? When did you do that? Yeah, exactly. I know you a Christian agent. You trying to hide and sneak into a metaphysical show. I know what you're doing. You're a Christian. I could tell. Sneaking in.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Where are you going Sunday? You going to early morning service?
I'm listening to Chief.
Yeah, right. You're gonna go to early morning service first. Then you're gonna call it a Chief Speaks. I know what you're doing just because you like the music. You're a Christian. But anyway, okay. So you're concerned about reverence for life. Well, you gotta, one of the best things to get over that, like even your phobia, is like immerse yourself in the world of spiders. Like go to a museum and things and look at spiders, right? But what you do is you got to look at what the spider represents. The spider represents the soul, okay? Because it has a center, and then it has all of these strings or legs that come out from it, or 8. I mean, I'm saying all of them, like there's 20 of them. But what that represents is the ori. So or as we say in the Akana, the Kra. So the spider or Nancy was always a representation of the Kra, or the ori. So when you're saying like I have this fear, it's creepy and crawling, you got to look at and now correlate that to the soul. How do I feel about my soul? How connected am I with the things that are down in my soul that need to be done that I haven't gotten done? Because if spiders are appearing in your world like that, and they can sense that you don't like them, and they know you don't like them, and they still coming along to get killed, then you want to now say, okay, then what message is nature trying to deliver to me? You see? So that's that aspect. Now you said like, I don't like walking anywhere barefoot. You don't want to touch the earth because the earth transforms you. That's the only place where you get transformed. So you don't want to be transformed by the earth. I don't like spiders near me because the spider represents the soul, and that's going to be transforming when you got to dig into that energy. So what you're afraid of is a change. Now you're married, right? I know you're married. You got to be.
Yeah.
Okay. I can see. No, I can always tell a married woman. I can hear the difference, and I can hear the difference in your tone from women are married, women who are not married. Now, okay. Your husband's probably a Christian, right?
Yes.
Yeah. See, I already know what this is. So you're afraid to really go there with what you feel about your spirituality because you're going to end up losing your family. He's not going for that. That's why you're afraid of spiders. What? Yes.
Yeah. But I'm actually breaking out of that shell.
Yeah.
Slowly but surely.
So when you testify in church this Sunday, that's what you're going to tell them? That you are now heavy into voodoo?
I don't attend church. I don't attend church. I haven't for about a year. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. You can't go back to Jamaica and tell them that. You know that, right? When you go to Jamaica, you got to go to church. You got to put that prayer cap on too, the little doily. You got to put the doily on top of your head and go to church. Because you're not going to tell them, nah, this is BS. I'm not doing this. No, and the children are not going either. But it's a process.
But I've been open with him, like about, the spirituality aspect that I'm learning. And of course it's been dismissed. But yeah, I think you've hit on something there.
Mm-hmm.
Great,
that's where the fear is.
Yeah.
That's what you want to start looking at more, you know. And then what's going to happen once you start looking at, man, why am I afraid to really transform, to really tap into my soul's purpose? You're going to look at the spider differently. So next time you see a spider, before you're like, oh my God, get away from me, you're going to kind of stare at it. You know, now obviously if it tries to run up your skirt, you know, you're going to go crazy. But if you get an opportunity to stare at it, I'm telling you, you're going to have a different relationship with it. You're going to be able to communicate with it different. Anytime I don't give it an insect, whatever it is, you know, you want to try to figure out what the relationship is. Like I had a teacher once years ago, we were doing some work and it was like all these flies around because once we did the work and it was blood, you know, they smell that blood, the flies come. And he was like, man, I hate flies. And I was like, why? He was like, because I don't know what they're here for. He's like, they serve no purpose, you know. And I was like, man, I kind of want to know what purpose. Yeah, like you're kind of right. They just seem nasty. There's got to be something that they do. So I wanted to develop a relationship with the fly, which I did, you know. And part of the things that I did to develop that relationship is I started reading mythology and folklore that dealt with flies, you know, to help me understand the nature and why my subconscious would create something like a fly, because every animal that I'm seeing is something that my subconscious created for a purpose in order to represent something on the planet to keep the doggone planet from tipping over, because all of these elements keep everything balanced. You need each and every one. They're all parts. A fly, a spider, a cat, a dog, a puma, a buffalo, they're all a part of the balancing act of the planet. So you need them all. You know, so those are the things to learn, but that's what you got to tap into, sister. All right.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Enjoy your evening. All right. Peace and blessings.
Yes, you too.
All right. See how she didn't check me on that peace and blessings thing? That's like the universal, I'm kind of conscious, but I'm Christian greeting and salutation. Peace and blessings. That's when you know they're dealing with a little bit of extra science, but you know, there's a cross under there. There's a cross under the shirt, you know. But so yeah, that has been our segment. That has been our foundational Friday. We wanted to archive a little bit, but I hope you all got the understanding that I was sharing about anti-nature and how our everyday movements have to bring us into a natural environment. Now, of course, I could have gone into Western culture, how Western culture is anti-nature, is anti-life. And that's why a lot of the things that the medicines they give you, the religions they give you, the education that you give you, it constantly stomps out life. But you know that. And if you don't know that by now, you know, you got to go back to basics. You got to revolve. You got to go back to the revolution. If you don't know who Amos Wilson is, you know, or so many of our other teachers who have shared these kind of ideas, you got to go back to the basics. You see, I try to go with the basics with you, you know, but some of the stuff you got to go to another source sometimes to just get a base understanding. So I didn't want to harp on that in this show too much. Like, yeah, you know, because Western culture does it. Forget that, man. We know that, but let's deal with what we're doing, because we can control that. I can't make them stop making concrete and cutting down all the freaking trees. And you know, because when they kill the trees, it's not just about oxygen. You're killing people's homes. Where do all those insects go now? All those creeping things, the crawling things, the flying things. Where do they go? You see? Oh, they go into your backyard. They drill. they dig holes under your house. So I didn't want to harp on that, but really I wanted to talk about what we can control right now. Does your everyday movements, or do your everyday movements bring you into a place where you're connecting with those energies in a way where you can ritualize in an instant? Boom. If I say, you know, go to the water, give this off, you're like, okay, boom. You know, I have that water element present. I don't care if it's a big bowl, but I have that water element present in my home. Or connect with that fire element right away. Boom. And everything is right there and accessible to you. And you're surrounding yourself with a natural environment. If you're not going to understand Ifa. You're not going to understand any African tradition. You're not. Because you're living an anti-nature existence. You're not going to understand what any of this stuff means. And then you'll start infusing your art. Like you'll try to turn these spiritual systems into some type of cybernetic organism. You know, you'll start to try to infuse anti-natural ideas into them. You know, you'll get completely lost in that. Well, you know, the Orisha are all accepting and all loving, so therefore, if I want to have sex with a goat, you know, Oshun is all about love. It doesn't matter if it's love between two people or two people. I've heard people say stuff like that before, like literally say things like that to me. There was a guy once who wanted me to marry him to his cat. Years ago, one of my instructors did it. He was like, I don't care, I'll do it. He paid me, I don't care. I was like, nah, man, I ain't doing that. You know, like there's an ordination and an initiation that you receive from man. Cool. But then there's a divine ordination. I'm not screwing up my divine ordination. I was born with that joint. I was born being a priest. They gave me that when I came out the womb. Now I had to go through the steps, the formalities, to open it up. You know, but I had the safe. I was born, I came out the womb with the safe in my hand. I just didn't know the combination, but I had it. You see, now given enough time, I could have figured out how to crack it. But when I went through initiations, they're like, okay, here's the code. Boom. Now we got Chief Yuya. Now you ready to rock. You know, I'm not messing that up by doing something that's anti-nature just because somebody's gonna give me a couple $100. Nah. You know, but hey, that's me. I'm not saying I have all the integrity in the world, but some things to me are just so unacceptable that, man, when I'm done with this situation, whoever's waiting for me, I don't want them looking at me like, what is wrong with you? Now that $300-400, do you have it right now? Now you see this good heaven up here, this good Orun or this good planet that we're now evolving on. You can't get up here now. Because look at what you did. Now I want to start with that whole heaven and hell thing, but I'm just saying, like, I have a spiritual community that looks up to me. I'm not talking about you humans. You know, y'all just here for the information. I'm talking about this community of spirits that I feed and who feed me and take care of me and take care of my family. You know, I'm not going to violate those laws that they've shared with me because those laws have sustained me. I'm not going to be anti-nature, you know, to the best of my ability. And that means even in how I interact in my relationships with people, I'm always going to present myself as my natural self. I'm not going to contort and conform myself into a position. So now what happens is I'll end up making myself a subconscious sea monster. I'll repress my own self. And then I'll be 70 years old walking around hunched over with a cane because my spine is so bent up, because your straight spine represents your developed and unleashed character. And when your spine is screwed up, that means you're not living proper character. And I don't want to be all hunched over. I want to still be able to look up at pretty girls' faces if I make it that far. All right. So that has been our segment. Thank you for listening to Foundational Friday. Be sure you tune in this Sunday to Chief Speaks. Chief Speaks this Sunday. Yeah, I know that other brother called. He's probably laughing right now. I told you, in my memory, it kicks in after 2-3 days. Then I'm a beast. With the first, the first 48 hours, I'm shot. So yeah, Chief Speaks this Sunday. Make sure you tune in. And if you have not RSVP'd for the Magic of Herbs webinar, it's time to start doing that. Start RSVPing, get ready so that you can have your space ready to go for that webinar, the power of herbs. And you notice we're keeping this nature theme, getting to nature, because when we designed the webinars, it was like, what are the basic elements we need to get to so we can empower self? And I'm not knocking them. A lot of times I go to certain botanicas and I see like these money oil, attraction oil. And I'm like, come on, man. What is this? This is not real oil, So I said we need to do a class where people can either learn how to select oils intelligently or learn how to make oils intelligently. Somebody just text me the word oils. I guess you don't like the way I pronounce oils. It's oils. All right. Actually, no, let me out her. Sister Kim is texting me saying, I guess she put oils in 3 times. I'm gonna keep saying it the same way. Oils. Now on Sunday, when you do Chief Speaks, you can repronounce it Southern style. I don't have it. They say it, but yeah, the magic of essential oils is the actual webinar. Which she felt she needed to text me the title just now. Thank you. I remembered that. I named the webinar, if you remember, the magic of essential oils. But yeah, so that's really what it was about, man. Getting people to a place where they can select proper oils. Oh, she said I said herbs. All right, thank you. All right, says Kim. Thank you with the text. You're vibrating the desk. Okay, she's still going. All right, so the magic of essential oils. I don't think I said herbs, but anyway, so that's what it was about, man. People can kind of get to some of the intelligence. So I did say herbs because we were talking about herbs, oils, and alchemy, trying to get people back to the basics. A basic understanding of herbs so you can deal with them properly, and an understanding of oils so you know which ones to buy or which ones you can create that actually work for you. You know, one of the things that we're really going to be focusing on this webinar is using oils to activate the pineal. I really wanted to make that a focus of this webinar. So the oil piece will be working with that to really activate the pineal and use it in that sense. But I want you all you guys to know something too. We're dealing with culture here. You know, so don't think you're just going to grab an oil off a shelf and then you're going to get a bunch of money. I mean, if that was the case, they would be more than what they sell them for, and they'd be sold out all the time. You know, because the store is never going to tell you, like, listen, if you don't have a relationship with these natural elements, this stuff doesn't work anyway. It's just, it may smell good. You know, you may attract somebody because you smell nice, you know, but you have to have a relationship with those elements and with that environment. That's why one of the lessons in our new spiritual training is embracing the elements. You know, we deal with that. Embrace the elements. How do you start to form a relationship with nature? So now when we come later with the webinars and stuff, you're doubly empowered, you know, to deal with those elements in a certain way. Also, the book Shrine and Altar, for those of you who have it, you notice what I did in that book as well, where I showed you how the 5 elements, as well as the 4, well, really the 5 elements in the 5 directions, how they play a integral part in your shrine or your Jingili and Afro-Muka building. And, you know, how you use those elements before you even start dealing with what Orisha goes here, what Orisha goes there. Let's deal with the elements. And that gives you a certain intelligence that you couldn't have imagined before. So that book really deals with that. But yeah, make sure you RSVP for this webinar. I like to see, a lot of people really enjoyed the last one, the herbs one. And I like to see people like getting smart. You know, so like one sister, Shatavia, who a lot of you are probably familiar because she calls on the show. After the webinar, she posted in the group an herb catalog for everybody when she did the herb one. So her sharing that, which is a part of the Odu for the year, Otu Upon Won Ring that I shared, sharing your wisdom. So I like to see when people do the webinars or the classes and they get smart, they get a little tip or trick that they learn, and then they share it with everybody. That's my thing. Share it, share it, share it. That goes for these shows too. Share them. Stop hiding them under your pillow. You know, stop trying to co-opt all the information. Share them. You know, one of my students called me earlier today. We were talking, and he told me that he ran across a video of one of my other students sharing one of my lessons. Well, basically plagiarizing my information, saying one of my lessons, but not giving me any tribute or credit with it. And I had told him, I said, you know, yeah, it's wrong, but that happens all the time. I can't tell you how many times I've been on YouTube and seen someone like quoting my stuff verbatim, and I'm nowhere near on the links or anything. But like I told him, I said, the bottom line is, man, at least the message is getting out there. You know, whether it's from me or whatever, at least it's getting out there. You know, so if people are going to listen to this person, maybe they like them better than they like me. You know, they may like their voice or something. So I will prefer that at least it's getting out there. You know, I have even some videos that are on YouTube that I've seen on other people's channels. Like they downloaded them off my channel, then put it back up on theirs. And it was one I was looking at, which was an old video I had up for years, breaking down comedic sciences. And the comments were like, thank you so much for this, brother. You're dropping it. And the guy who stole my video was like, oh, you're welcome. That's what we got to do. Like he had anything to do with it. He just stole my video, you know, and I could have sent him a message or something, but no, get it out there, whatever. Just get the word out there, sharing is caring. But anyway, so that has been our segment. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you all this Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern. We'll be broadcasting on YouTube. We're going to try that this Sunday, as well as High Frequency Radio and Enlightenment Transformation. All right, and we're gonna hook it up so you guys can also comment more on the YouTube videos, be a little bit more interactive. All right, so until such time, I will see you all then. Peace.
Thank you for